And we are live talking Vikings history once again. Tonight is Vikings being underdogs in the playoffs, which, when you look at their history, doesn't really happen that often. Uh, so, you know, if you want to have some questions in the chat tonight, we'll go ahead and answer some of those for you. If you have any questions about the games, because we might have to stretch it out because there's only maybe 5 games we're talking about at the most.
Yeah. Vikings, let's win this game. Score Vikings on a relay. Go get that first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, 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 fight. Go Vikings, run out the score. You'll hear us yell for more. V-I-K-I-N-G-S. Score Vikings, let's go.
I know we have a new intro, but that one is so good. Yogi did a great job on that.
Yeah, that was a classic. That's our intro.
Yeah. So people who don't know, we kind of Tony, Yogi, and I have kind of like, I guess I don't want to say separated, but we kind of like do our own thing from everybody else on this network. So we kind of have like a new name. So it's like you see at the top left hand corner, Fat Boys Network. So yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. So as we were saying, the Vikings really don't have too many underdog wins as a team, because usually when they were in their dominance in the 70s, they were the favorite team, except for one year in 77. And I think the only reason they were underdogs that year was because the team that they were playing beat them in the regular season. It wasn't that they were a better team; they just beat them in the regular season.
They beat them. The Rams beat them 35-3 Monday Night Football. Plus 77 was the year that Tarkenton was hurt. Yeah. So they went into L.A. with a backup quarterback in Bob Lee, a much older Viking team. The Rams, on paper, were the better team. The Rams were the younger team, and they were the faster team. But what happened was Mother Nature. They got a rainstorm, and so that put everything on. It was basically Viking weather.
In L.A., correct?
In L.A., yeah. It was Viking weather in L.A., day after Christmas in 77. And the Vikings went in there, and they put it together. They beat them 14-7. But the Vikings were heavy underdogs in that game, too. And they were underdogs to the Cowboys the next week, but that win against the Rams, especially after the way they got beaten in the regular season by the Rams, was kind of revenge. Was kind of a sweet victory.
Yes. So that's probably the earliest game where they were not favored to win. But at that time, the Vikings actually did win when they weren't supposed to.
Right.
75 were the Vikings a favorite, were the Cowboys a favorite. Most people, I don't know. That game was probably.
Yeah, they were favored. The Vikings were favored in every playoff game except the Super Bowls. Up until till Super Bowl 11, they were favored in Super Bowl 4 by 13.5 points.
Yeah. But then we have really nothing really happened between that 77 and the playoffs. If the Vikings were in the playoffs, they were the favorites, or they weren't, or they were the favorites and they lost, or they were underdogs and they lost. But 87, everybody knows that was a strike year.
Yeah.
And there was some things that happened in that game. There's still a record. The receiver in that game still has the record today of most yards in a playoff game.
Anthony Carter. He went off in the Saints game, the wild card game, and he went completely off. But the Niner game is where he just like a man among boys.
That's when the Saints and the Vikings probably had their best uniforms. Both teams probably had their best uniforms.
Those are classic uniforms. The Saints need to go back to the gold pants.
Yes,
They need
with the
to
black stripe at least.
with the black stripe. You're right.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, and the Vikings were heavy underdogs for that game, and the reason was they had lost to the Redskins the week before. They lost in overtime 27-24, so they were 8-4. So they needed help to get into the playoffs. And it took the Dallas Cowboys beating the then St. Louis Cardinals to get the Vikings into that last playoff spot. So they get into the playoff spot, and then Wade Wilson doesn't start. Jerry Burns starts Tommy Kramer in that Saints game. And the game started out bad from the start. I want to say Kramer fumbled the first snap. And the Vikings lost the ball. Saints get the ball. And then the Saints score a touchdown like 2-3 plays later. Saints had jumped out 10-0 on the Vikings early. And then
yeah. So the score. So that wild card, the Vikings were the 5th seed, and New Orleans was the 4th seed. At that time, they only had 5 seats.
yeah, that was a wild card game. Yep.
Yeah. So the game attendance was 66,000 because that's the dome.
And that is the first time the Saints ever made the postseason in their
yes,
history.
it was their playoff game in history.
Yep, their first postseason game in history, and they had that defense. They had the Dome Patrol, as they called them. Pat Swilling, Sam Mills, Vaughn Johnson, Ricky Jackson, the linebacker.
I was going to say Ricky Jackson was there.
Yeah. Bobby Hebert was their quarterback.
Now, why is it Bobby Hebert but Justin Herbert?
Huh?
I said, why is it Bobby Hebert but Justin Herbert?
Because Bobby Hebert is what's the word I'm looking for? Cajun.
Yeah,
he's Cajun, and they pronounce things differently. But yeah, Bobby. If you ever heard Bobby Hebert talk, he sounds like a true Cajun.
And he hates Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like Sirius XM, I have him on there. He hates Minnesota.
Well, because he very seldom put up points on him, and they usually beat the hell out of him whenever he played him.
Yeah, so first quarter, New Orleans from Bobby Hebert to Eric Martin, a 10-yard pass.
Yep.
And then it was a Chuck Nelson 42-yard field goal.
Yeah, and he was Mr. Erratic. It's a wonder. It was an adventure whenever he kicked.
He was he Rick Carlos was a barefoot kicker, right?
Yeah, Rich Carlos was barefoot.
Okay. And then Anthony Carter, it's the first time Anthony Carter struck in the playoffs.
Punt return.
84-yard punt return.
He got it, and I remember that play. He got an excellent block from Isaac Holt. I believe it was on one of the gunners. Holt took him out. And it was just clear sailing to the end zone. After that, though, that was the domino effect, and you could feel that the tide had turned.
Yeah,
Minnesota took it over from there.
I remember at that time, my dad was married to the most evilest woman I've ever met in my life. My dad's second wife. And she had a family thing. So, and she was not a football fan at all. So it's no football on TV. But luckily, her nephew lived in a camper in the back, so he was watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go, oh, I think he needs help, with his project he's doing. So I'd go back there and I would check the score. When I finally saw the final score, that was 41-10. I was like, what? Really? For
44-10, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, really?
It was 31-10 at halftime.
Yeah, it was. So after that punt return, that was he scoring in the first quarter was 10-7. So the second quarter, Steve Jordan, a 5-yard pass from Wade Wilson.
Yep.
And then Anthony Carter struck again with a 10-yard pass. from Allen Rice.
Yeah, it was an option. It was an option pass, which Allen Rice was very good at because he played option quarterback at Baylor. So every now and then he would throw a pass.
So it was 24-10 at that point. And then Martin Anderson kicked a 40-yard field goal. Yes, that Martin Anderson, in case people
Yeah, he
forgot.
became a
Martin
Viking,
Anderson
yeah.
actually played for Minnesota too. And then one of my favorite receivers, he also has one of the best names for the Vikings.
Hassan Jones.
He also wore 84, Hassan Jones. I mean that is an awesome first name. I'm sorry. But yeah, 44-yard touchdown.
He caught his was a Hail Mary pass at the end of the first half. That was his touch. It was a Hail Mary pass from Wilson to Hassan Jones.
Yeah, so and that was 31-10 at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
Third quarter, Chuck Nelson, 43-yard field goal. And then the fourth quarter, Chuck Nelson, 18-yard field goal. And then good old DJ Dozer.
Who actually looked good. You know what? DJ looked pretty good his rookie year.
I was happy.
I thought he was gonna do something. I thought he was gonna be one of those kind of the running back that we needed, and then it just went downhill after that.
Yeah. Yeah, he does belong in the Ring of Honor.
Why he's not in there, I don't know.
Because he's the third best receiver?
Yeah.
Right? Stat wise he is. JJ hasn't caught up to him yet, but
I don't even count JJ because JJ's still playing.
Right.
You know, if you're gonna go with players that have already played, you gotta go Moss, Carter, AC, Sammy White.
Or Gilliam.
Gilliam would be after Rashad.
God, just think about that. Amon Rashad, Gilliam, Sammy White.
And we don't even mention Gene Washington.
Yeah, Gene Washington, Jake Reed.
Yeah, Jake Reed.
There's some good.
You still had even the earlier ones. You still had Paul Flatley. You still had Nate Burleson.
Yeah.
You know, this team has been nothing short of
Sidney Rice,
receivers.
Percy Harvin. Well, I consider Percy more of a weapon than a receiver.
I have Percy like a David Palmer type. He did everything.
Amply, David Palmer, Percy Harvin.
And then with the problem with Percy was unfortunately he got stuck with
migraines.
Ponder, but he also had migraines.
Yeah,
which can be a problem.
But he did get stuck with Ponder.
Yeah, we did get AC from the USFL. Matter of fact,
Detroit Panthers or Michigan Panthers. Sorry,
what happened was the USFL had already folded or was folding. So many of the players had NFL contracts. Miami owned the rights to Anthony Carter. The Vikings,
by the way, he's from Riviera Beach, Florida.
He's from Riviera Beach,
which
Florida.
Was about, I would say, maybe 15, 20 minutes from where I grew up. I actually delivered, when I was in high school, I delivered pizza as a delivery driver. His family actually ordered, he wasn't there, but his family ordered pizza. And of course, I had all the Viking stuff on my car, and they're like, well, do you know who we are? Well, I've never seen his family because this is before like the internet and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. I'm like, no. I mean, are you, how long have you been a Viking fan? Of course, I tell them, that. They're like, oh, well, my son plays for him. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, Anthony. I'm like, Anthony? You mean Anthony Carter? She's like, yeah. I'm like, oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. He was scheduled to be. He was supposed to be a Dolphin, and that was when like Mike Lynn was doing his wheeling and dealing with USFL players. He traded a linebacker. He traded Robin Sunline to the Dolphins.
Sunline
for the rights to Anthony Carter.
Well, I said the Vikings won that one.
And the Vikings won that one. And then, matter of fact, the same day they got David Howard, the linebacker. I forget where David Howard was though, who had his rights. But yeah, Anthony started out with the Panthers, and then the Panthers, I believe, merged with the Oakland Invaders. And that was as the USFL, because the USFL was losing teams, and they were losing money big time.
So, not all the USFL owners had money like Trump.
Yeah, and The funny part about that was Trump wanted the other USFL owners to help him pay the contract for Herschel Walker.
Hey, you don't become a billionaire for nothing.
They wanted him to he wanted the other owners to help him pay for the contract that he signed Herschel Walker to. It's like, you idiot, what are you doing? No,
I've been around because of my job my dad has. I've been around some very, very wealthy people. They are so damn cheap.
that's why they're wealthy. That's the whole thing. It's like, that's why they're wealthy, because they are cheap.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Thank you, George. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, George. Yeah.
Most people, we actually have a guy who comes on our show sometimes, Zoe. Before Moss, according to him, the Vikings didn't exist.
And unfortunately, that's with a lot of Viking fans. That's even the ones here in Minnesota. There's many of them that did not start cheering for this team until they got Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you tell them we've been to Super Bowls, they don't believe you.
You tell them we have a championship, they don't believe us.
Yeah, they don't believe us. I mean,
because we don't have our damn trophy. Thank you, Green Bay.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings are all over NFL history. They're all over NFL history from 61 on.
I just got to say, I'm glad the Lions lost, because I could not. Could you imagine being the only team in the North if the Lions would have won? Not to have a.
You know what, though? We were right, though. The Lions were going to do Lions things.
Yep. Dan Campbell. And it's funny. We'll talk about the 49 game after this. Like I said, we got to feel it sometime, because there's only been 4 games where they've been underdogs. Mm-hmm. The Lions fans, I don't know if you watched some of the Lions podcasts after the game. They're like, yeah, well, Dan Campbell goes for it on 4th down. That's what he does. Yeah. We're like, everybody else in the world is like, everybody knew that Dan Campbell was going to cost you all a game by going for it on 4th down.
It was just, you were waiting for that time when
there was no reason for him not to kick a field goal. You know?
Well, plus, you know what, though? They've got one of the worst kickers in the league.
But still, I mean, he's not Blair Walsh.
I think he could have made that.
Yes.
Yeah. But, I mean, the Lions did. The Lions are the Lions. Let's just be honest. They're going to do Lions things. And any other coach that did what Dan Campbell did
would be fired.
But because he got the Lions to where they got this year, he gets a reprieve. Now, we've seen this script before with the Lions. It'll probably be another 30 years before they're back in this spot. Campbell's going to have to look in the mirror and probably be like, I need to stop taking these chances. Those chances cost me.
Yeah. Well, last year it cost them against Minnesota.
Yeah. This year they covered it up enough to where they got good play, but one good thing is Ben Johnson is staying, so their offense will stay intact. He turned down the Commander's job. So he's gonna stay in Detroit. Don't know if that's a good thing.
They're saying that I saw a thing today saying that the Commanders may let Belichick do it. He take control like he wants to.
Belichick. That's why nobody wants to. Belichick wants that control. He wants all that control. The Commanders right now, and God, I hope they change their uniforms. They're if they want to compete, they're gonna have to give Belichick what he wants. So
they got new owners, so they're make a splash and then take the quarterback back that you guys gave up.
And also, here's the thing: you're trying to get a stadium in DC. They want to build a new stadium in DC. So wouldn't that be ironic if they took Kirk back? Wouldn't that be ironic?
That would be because you know what I like. As everybody knows, I am not a person who can't. I'm not one of those who blames everything on Cousins, but I also think there's limitations. We should all riot if the Vikings give him $45 million a year.
I won't watch the team. I won't watch it, and it could go either way. You do not give somebody coming off an Achilles injury at 36 years old guaranteed money for 2 years. You just don't.
Yeah.
You just don't. But you know what? The Wilfs will jump. The Wilfs are those owners that will jump the gun and do it. They will.
I don't know if Quasey will.
Quasey will be out of. Quasey can be replaced.
Yeah,
Quasey
but
can be replaced, and Quasey's already replaced. Friggin', they've already got Grigson there. So if it goes south with Quasey's just an analytics guy. He's not a football guy. He's not a football guy. So everybody that thinks, oh, Quasey knows football, no, he doesn't. Quasey is your analytics guy. The only person that knows any type of football in that Viking front office is Grigson. That's it. Quasey is just there to do the whole, the team wants to play Moneyball. Bottom line.
yeah,
They want to play Moneyball. And Quasey is a analytics guy. Unfortunately, analytics has taken over sports. That's problem number 1 through 10. But Quasey don't know jack shit. Quasey don't know shit about football.
yeah.
He don't. He's a basketball guy.
I think Bob Sweet talk about a.
Oh, jeez.
When did I know the 2-point conversion? They just put that in the league. What, early 2000s? Was that in the
No,
league?
2-point came in 94.
Was it? Did they have the 2-point conversion before that?
No, they did in the 30s.
That's what I'm saying. Like, did they have it? They took it out and put it back in.
Yeah, they did in the 30s and 40s. Matter of fact, one of the coaches that lobbied for the 2-point conversion for years was Bud Grant. He lobbied for it at every league meeting. He wanted the 2-point conversion. But yeah, they brought it in 94.
Okay.
So,
I knew it was around that time period.
yeah, 94. Yeah, Dan Gregson doesn't have a great background either in football.
Well, he's pretty much the reason why Luck retired.
Right. But if everybody looks at the Vikings structure in their front office, we don't have people really in that front office that know anything about football.
Yeah.
That's the guy, Darian. That's the guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy who absolutely refused to drive an offensive lineman for Andrew Luck. You have by far the best quarterback probably since Peyton to come into the league, and you don't
wasted it
at all.
Yeah, and
he wasn't a football first guy. That dude, Andrew Luck, is way smart. Like, football is just like a hobby for him. You think he's just going to let himself get killed and be a cripple at early age? No. So
no, he's not going to play that. He's not going to.
Yeah.
He's not going to play that game.
Smart guys don't do that. Robert Smith did the same thing.
Smart guys don't play until they're broke down.
Yeah.
You know. And Robert, and it ain't like Robert Smith didn't have knee injury after knee injury. He had like 3 or 4 knee injuries.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, right now everybody's like, well, let Quasey cook, let Quasey do this. It's not Quasey, folks. It's not Quasey. And I think it's that narrative has to change to where everybody thinks Quasey's calling the shots. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, but you bring back Kirk, I'm out.
Oh, you remember that day?
Oh, that day was like, as a Viking fan, that was like one of the greatest days in Viking history. That's one of the greatest games in team history. And once again, the Vikings were heavy underdogs. It was bad weather. It rained.
Yeah.
But Anthony Carter took that game and he turned that game into his own.
So it was in San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have San Fran were they like 7, 8 point favorites or something like that.
Yeah, they were damn near 10, 11 point favorites.
And so I think Chuck Nelson and I think it was a pretty sloppy game first starting out. I mean, it was low scoring actually. The game finished 36-24, but it started off slower than that. Um, Pretty much the second quarter. Second quarter is where the 49ers lost control.
When Anthony Carter caught that pass, that highlight reel pass on the sideline, I think was that over McGuire? Was that Tim McGuire he jumped over?
I believe so.
When he caught that pass down the sideline, that set the ball in motion. That started the ball rolling for the Vikings. But now this is what a lot of people don't remember about this game. That Viking defense played their asses off that game against Joe Montana. They could not run the ball. Joe Montana could not throw the ball. Chris Dolman owned, I believe, Bubba Paris. He got like 2.5 sacks on Bubba Paris. The Vikings hounded Joe Montana so bad, Montana got benched. Montana got benched for Steve Young. So the Viking defense that game they played their asses off. And that front four of Chris Dolman, Keith Millard, Henry Thomas, and Doug Martin at the time, they made life really bad for Montana. Like I said, I don't think too many people remember ever, Joe Montana being pulled for performance, and he was pulled. He got pulled in that game. So, matter of fact, Reggie Rutland had an interception return that kind of for a touchdown, and that kind of sealed the deal. Yeah, Reggie Rutland interception. Later changed his name to Najee Mustafa, but yeah, yep. Reggie Rutland had the touchdown return. That was a complete win by that Viking team.
The Athletic actually has a story. It says shortly after the Vikings beat the Saints in overtime on Sunday. This is when the 2019 playoffs, the Kyle Rudolph touchdown. The memories started coming back for Keith Millard. The former Vikings started to put the pieces together. Minnesota entering the playoffs number 5 seed on the heels of a pair of concerning performances prevailing over their heavy favorite in New Orleans on Wild Card weekend to set up a trip with the number 1 seed San Francisco in the NFC semifinals. I didn't really put a lot into it until after the Saints game. Millard said by phone. When we won that game, I was like, "Here we go! It's like '87 all over again." So it was. Let me log in here because right now it's blocking me. But yeah, so Keith Millard was just talking about how that game meant to him, and I'm trying to log into the Athletic right now because I haven't actually paid.
They're probably going to want you to buy a subscription.
I already have it.
Oh.
If only the Vikings were bringing Anthony Carter with them. When Millard reflects on the standout 8-year NFL career, few games come up more than the Candlestick Park January 9th, 1988. After routing the favored Saints the previous weekend, the Vikings were 11-point underdogs to Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, and the top-ranked 49ers. When it was all over, Carter outshined Rice. Montana watched the last quarter from the bench, and legendary 49ers coach Bill Walsh was in Eddie DeBartolo Jr.'s crosshairs. I'll never forget Eddie telling Bill that night, "Bill, I don't want you to lose to another playoff game. This is the last one you'll lose for the 49ers." Yeah, so
it was true. He didn't lose another game, and then I believe he retired.
And then during the game, Bill Walsh said, "Somebody please cover Anthony Carter," is what Keith Millard said he heard him say from the sidelines. And that was
Anthony Carter. He was a beast that game. 1-man wrecking crew.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, that was
Anthony. We always practiced together. We didn't give up on the season. A lot of guys went their own separate ways during the strike. We had a lot of guys that hung around. We just never gave up. We knew that we had a good team, even though we lost the games at the end of the season. That was Anthony Carter after the game. Yes.
the biggest problem with that team in '87 was Jerry Burns playing musical chairs with the quarterback position. He played musical chairs with the quarterback position. Darren Nelson almost had 1,000 yards that year.
Yeah.
He almost had 1,000 yards. DJ Dozier was a rookie. Hank Thomas was a rookie. But yeah, and then that was the year they moved Chris Dolman full-time to defensive end, and it paid off. He had 11 and a half sacks.
Which fit his playing style.
Yeah, he was not he was supposed to be the heir apparent to Matt Blair. They drafted him as an outside linebacker, but he was more of once they worked with them, and I believe the one that worked with them was Mark Mullaney, who worked with him as a down defensive end. And he picked it up, and next thing you know, he's an All-Pro and a Hall of Famer. And then you had Keith Millard. Millard missed a lot of time. No, he missed like 3 or 4 games with, I believe, a hip injury. But yeah, he was when the playoffs rolled around, though, Millard was back to being Millard. It was just he was a force. So yeah, that team, if they had beat Washington, they would have played the Broncos in the Super Bowl. And they probably would have beat the Broncos.
Yeah, that was the Super Bowl where the Redskins scored 35 in the second quarter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and Timmy Smith ran for 200 and some odd yards.
Yeah.
Doug Williams went out there and just made it look easy against that defense.
Yeah. So the starters were Wade Wilson, Darren Nelson, Alfred Anderson, Carter, Leo Lewis, Steve Jordan. Here is this for an offensive line: Zimmerman, Huffman, Loudermilk, Greg Cook, and Tim Irwin. Tim Irwin was huge, wasn't he? Like 6'8"?
Yeah.
And then Doug Barton, Henry Thomas, Keith Millard, Chris Dolman, Scott Studwell, David Howard, Jesse Sullivan, Isaac Holt, Carl Lee, Joey Browner, and Harris. That is a hell of a defense, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I think they were pretty close to the top because they were number 1 the next year. But don't forget, we had those replacement players.
Yeah. And the Vikings were cheap when it came to
the Vikings were cheap. The Vikings were the last ones to even get replacement players.
So they could have had the first seed if they got good players.
Yeah. Yeah, they would have. Put it this way, the Bears had replacement players. Guess who their starting quarterback was? Sean Payton.
Butthole face?
The same Sean Payton. They had Sean Payton, and they had Mike Hohensee, the former University of Minnesota quarterback.
Oh, Hohensee. I haven't heard that name in a long time. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they had Hohensee.
Yeah, he listens. Yeah, Keith Millard listens to Miley Cyrus. How could you mean like? He was, man. He was. Millard hates a lot of people, Bob. Yeah, but so that was the starting offense for the teams, and it was, yeah. So they were 11-point favorites. The Niners were.
Yep.
It's amazing because it started off the first quarter was 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
After the first quarter, but then that's when the Vikings went on and scored 17 points in the second quarter.
Right. Exactly.
So that's how the scoring went. It was a back and forth because the Vikings went on that 17 run, and then the 49ers scored 14 in the third.
Yeah, those 49ers looked like they were gonna make a run for it. And that's
Yeah.
when they benched Montana.
Yeah, it
And
was
they put in Steve
because it was
Young.
20-3 at halftime,
Yeah,
and
it
it
was
was
actually it was all Vikings going into the third quarter, and then for those that want to know, the game is on YouTube, the full game.
yes,
So if you ever want to watch it, it's on YouTube.
yep. I
Um,
don't have Yogi set up, or else I would be showing it right now, or parts
yeah,
of it right now.
I mean, so it's but the Viking defense and especially Chris Dolman had just taken over.
Yeah,
Dolman and Millard, when they were on their game, they were the best tackle DN tandem in the NFL when they were both out there. There was nobody better.
so
There was nobody better.
San Fran was sacked 4 times for 24 yards,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
so the
and then
scoring was Chuck Nelson, a 21-yard field goal, Ray Wershing, 43-yard field goal, Carl Hilton, 7-yard pass from Wade Wilson,
yep.
and then another Chuck Nelson field goal, and then Najee Mufasa, which was used to be Reggie Rutland, 45-yard interception return for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Fuller, 48-yard interception return.
Oh, that's right. Fuller returned an interception for a touchdown. That's right.
Then Hassan Jones with his touchdown. So basically, the 49ers did not score a touchdown until late in the third quarter.
Well, okay. After Fuller got that interception and the game all of a sudden close, you know what sprung it open again? Anthony Carter on an end around for damn near 30-yard run. Once again, it was Anthony Carter who swung the momentum back to the Vikings. He did everything that game
except for score.
Matter of fact, I think he only scored once in the playoffs that year.
Hassan Jones had the 5-yard touchdown, and then that's when the 49ers scored after that, and then Chuck Nelson 2 more field goals, and then John Frank scored from a Steve Young pass, and then Chuck Nelson with another field goal.
Yeah, and Frank got his. Wasn't that was Steve Young, wasn't it?
Yeah, Steve Young. Yeah, okay. And Montana wasn't in there for any of the. It was
Montana got benched.
Yeah,
he got benched.
Then, so that's when Anthony Carter had 10 receptions for 227 yards with a long of 63.
Yep.
He also had a rush for 30 yards.
That's the one that
257-yard game.
That rush is the one that led to the Hassan Jones touchdown.
Yeah.
So,
but he did not score.
No, he only scored a couple of touchdowns in the playoffs that year.
Yeah, there was Hassan Jones and Carl Hinton were the two that had the touchdowns. And Carl Hinton only had 1 catch.
Yep.
For 7 yards. But hey, if you're only going to have 1 catch, make it count.
If you're only going to have 1 catch, Carl Hilton, he only had like 7 catches his whole career and 5 were touchdowns.
Yeah. All he does is catch touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was probably the biggest one. That's probably the one that most people remember because it not only was it such a great game for Anthony Carter, it's still I think it's still the record for most all-purpose yards in a game in the playoff.
It's got to be still up
because I think Timmy Smith had 206 yards rushing, but I don't think he had any receiving. So I think it was
his was all running.
I think it was just a straight 206.
Yeah, his was all running.
So I mean it's still today with all the passing in this league, that's still a record.
Yeah, I mean it's and this is when he did that, it was a running league.
Yeah. They only threw for 298 yards.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, Jesse Solomon was a stud.
Yeah, Jesse was. He was part of the Walker trade.
We lost him in the Walker trade, though, right?
Yep. He was part of the Herschel Walker trade.
And then the Cowboys got rid of him. Then he went to Tampa Bay, I think.
Yeah, he was starting for Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Starting middle linebacker.
Cowboys didn't want any of our players that we gave them. They cut them all.
No, they got the draft choice. All they wanted was the draft choices. They didn't
Yeah.
want the damn veteran players. I mean, shit. I wouldn't want the veteran players either.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted I would want the draft choices, which I got.
As long as you know what you're doing with them.
Right, which Jimmy did.
Yeah.
So
And then we all know what happened next week.
yep.
Why can't we have nice things?
Because we're Minnesota. I mean, put it this way, we got a couple of World Series, we should be happy. You know, but yeah, it's especially with the Vikings, it's just not in the cards. I don't know why.
Yeah. I kind of didn't want the Lions to win because I don't want, the Vikings to be the only team in the division without a Super Bowl.
Actually, George Nelson, that pass wasn't intended for Nelson, it was actually intended for Anthony Carter. Anthony Carter ran the wrong route. It was intended for Anthony Carter. But yeah, Nelson had his hands on it and dropped it, which we drafted Nelson because he could catch the ball.
Still no excuse.
Yeah, so.
But we've already talked about the bad playoff losses. This is a good thing. This is a good show tonight.
Yeah, but somehow the bad gets in there.
Yeah,
it does.
So there really wasn't another upset for a while.
No, they were favored. Well, except 97, they beat the Giants. They were underdogs in that game.
But the Giants weren't favored by a lot. It was like 2 or 3 points, something like that, I think.
They were a field goal.
Yeah.
3.5 points.
Which is, if you're a home team, that's the usual.
They were still favored. Plus, Danny hadn't won a playoff game yet.
And then they had the Bear game, but I'm not sure if they were favored in that. The
one where Steve Young played or Steve Walsh played?
Yeah, where Chris Carter caught that pass on the sideline.
That was a regular season game.
Right. And then the playoff game was in. So Minnesota hosted, I believe, that game too.
Yeah, we were favored.
Yeah, they were favored in that one.
And we only got that because we were the home team, so we were favored by like 3.5.
Yeah.
And then we were underdogs to the Giants in 97, but not by much.
It was pretty much a push game. Like whoever was the home team would have been the favorite in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the one where Rodney Hampton ran all over us, right?
No, Hampton ran all over us in 93. Hampton ran all over us in 93. That was 97.
It was 27-10, right? Was that 93 or was that
No, 93 was 20 to 10 or 17-10. 17-10. That was Jimmy.
I just remember 27 just running all over us.
That was Rodney Hampton. That was that was Jim McMahon as quarterback. 97 was we were losing 19-10. Cunningham hits Jake Reed in the back of the end zone, makes it 19-17, less than a minute, I believe, and then we kicked an onside kick and it worked. And then Eddie Murray kicked the game-winning field goal. George, I think it was it was Chris Walsh. I want to say Chris Walsh recovered it.
Well, he was special team king.
He was Mr. Special Teams personified.
Him and Tasker from Buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah. That was probably Chris Walsh. And then so we were favored in 98, favored in 99, except with the Rams, favored against the Saints. I don't know if we were favored against the Giants in the championship game or not. I don't remember.
Oh, the 41 donut?
Yeah. I don't remember.
I don't know if we were or not.
No, and I think that was close too. And I think that was like a 3.5 point game. And they only gave it to the Giants because the Giants were a home team. So the next one we were heavy underdogs was 0-4 against the Packers. That's got to be the next one.
Yeah, froze.
I think we were 10-point underdogs for that game.
Yeah.
which that game shocked the hell out of me. I did not expect the Vikings to
Well,
come
because this man right here was
in.
injured.
Yeah.
And Al Harris still couldn't cover his ass.
No. It's amazing the Packers drafted all those defensive backs just to cover Randy Moss. And they still couldn't. You know? And that game, I don't know how that game, and Brett Favre was Brett Favre. Brett Favre looked like crap that game. For the Vikings to go in there and they dominated the Packers that game. They dominated the Packers. You know, you can say what you want about Mike Tice, but he went in Lambeau Field and won a playoff game.
Which a lot of people don't do.
Which, yeah, a lot
time.
of people don't. And he did it. So, you know, give him credit, but yeah, that was Randy's, and then the despicable act as
I thought I downloaded that picture, but I guess I didn't.
But yeah, I mean that was the last game we were heavy underdogs in for playoffs.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've been.
Well, 9 times out of 10 we're favorites, and 9 times out of 10 we're at home. That's why we're favorites, especially back in the day. But yeah, I mean, you know, but you got, if there was one shining moment for the Mike Tice regime, it was that game, beating the Packers in the playoffs. The Eagles handed it to them the next week, but
yeah, was it Freddie Jackson? I want to think my hands. Or was that Freddie Jackson? Freddie Mitchell.
Freddie Mitchell.
Yeah, I want to think my hands. Or whatever.
Yep. Yeah, so that was, you know. So yeah, I mean, it's I think recently we were underdogs to the Saints in 2019, weren't we?
I think we were
not by much, but
by much. Yeah, not by much.
That was probably maybe a touchdown underdog, 6-point underdog. Oh, there we go.
There we go. There's a disgusting act.
Yep, the famous
shot. And Buck is still hated today for that.
Which comment. Okay, what's his name brought this up? He explained it. Tony Dungy. You might have heard this, Catch. Okay, if you're a visiting team, especially if you played in the NFC Central, North, whatever, if you're a visiting team, it is a well-known fact that as the team bus is leaving, the opposing team is leaving the stadium. The Packer fans are outside the fence and they moon the bus as it goes by. That is why Randy did what he did, because the fans are the fans moon the buses leaving the stadium. The Packer fans. I don't know if they still do, but they used to do it back then. And that was Randy's answer to the fans of Green Bay.
Yeah, it was 31-17.
Yeah. Yeah, the Vikings, I think the Vikings jumped out early to like 14-0.
Mo Williams, of all people, that 68-yard touchdown from Dante.
I remember that.
And then Randy had the 20-yard touchdown. Morton, and then Morton Anderson had the field goal.
Oh, that's right. He was with us.
Yeah, so it was 17-0. And then Ryan Longwell kicked the field goal at 2 minutes left in the first quarter.
Okay. And
then Green Bay, Bubba Franks. So the Vikings had a 17-10 lead at that. And then Nate Burleson with his 19-yard pass.
Mm-hmm.
There was no scoring in the third quarter. And then Mr. I took a dump in your closet, Najee Davenport scored. And then Randy got him again with a 34-yard pass. I think
And that
that
was
was
it.
I think that was the one Al Harris was covering him 1-on-1. He did the double
Yeah, and he
move,
blew
and
right by
then
him. He was like 20 yards
yeah,
behind him.
with a broke ass leg, his ankle was really bad,
Yeah.
and he still blew by him like he was sitting still.
Yeah. Blew right by him. So yeah, I mean for that one moment, all was right with Viking world, especially when you beat the Packers in the playoffs.
Yeah,
And that was okay. So on a sad note, that was the week leading up to the game, Reggie White had passed away. So the emotions were kind of running high in Green Bay with the passing of Reggie White. But yeah, he passed away. I think he passed away the Friday before that game. Reggie passed away. So
yeah. Moss was not even the leading receiver in that game.
it was Burleson, wasn't it?
No, it's Mo Williams. 2 catches, 72 yards.
How many catches did Moss have?
But yardage wise, it was Mo Williams. Let me see. Does it show? So that's the year Dante had 4,700 yards passing.
Yeah, that was Dante's. What should have been his MVP year if it wasn't for Peyton Manning.
Moss had 13 touchdowns. That was the year Burleson had 1,000. I think Moss was hurt most of that year. Let's see. It said Culpepper was 19 of 29 for 284 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brett Favre was 22 of 32, 216 yards, a touchdown, and 4 interceptions.
Did he throw 4 interceptions?
Favre is going to Favre, man.
Oh my gosh, I don't remember any of those interceptions.
The top rushers were Dante for 7 for 47. Ahman Green was 20 of 80. And then top receivers, Mo Williams 2 for 72, a touchdown, and Donald Driver was 7 for 78.
Oh, Donald Driver! I forgot he was with the Packers then.
Yeah,
I forgot he was with the Packers.
So for such a high-scoring game, there really wasn't that much offense.
No, there wasn't. There really wasn't. Technically, it wasn't high scoring. It was actually just your typical football game.
Well, high scoring for Minnesota, 31 points.
Yeah, not a lot of the 4 interceptions, but I mean, and Favre was notorious for throwing multi-interception games.
Yeah.
Who had the interception? I'm sure Brian Russell had an interception for the Vikings.
Yeah. Let me switch to PF because Wikipedia doesn't have that. They just get the basic stuff. But no, I remember that game like it was yesterday because I actually had a neighbor who was a Packer fan, and all the crap talking,
I'll tell you what, the Packer fans up here, when they lost that game, they were nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found.
But that seems to happen a lot. I'm just saying. Pro Football Reference. There we go.
Actually, George, the Vikings can draft a Reggie White type of player, but he has to. Reggie was just that. Reggie was unique where he played all along the line and he was just a beast. I don't know now if you have that type of player. I don't know if he's in the league or. I think the only one that's kind of close is probably Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
After that, there's a big drop off.
Brian Williams, Brian Russell, Antoine Winfield, and Ralph Brown had the interceptions.
Antoine Winfield was with us then?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's 04. Yeah, he was with us.
And then Ralph Brown, man. You would have told me he had a pick. I would have told you you were on something.
I don't even remember him. I know him Macy as a special teamer.
Ontario Smith was the starting runner. Ontario Smith and Michael Bennett were both running backs on that team. Ontario Smith had 11 carries for 38 yards. Michael Bennett had 9 for 31.
Okay. Yeah, we really couldn't run the ball. We weren't really good at it.
And then, Moss had 4 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Mo Williams was 2 for 72 and 1. And then Burleson was 4 for 16 and 1. And Jermaine Wiggins was 3 for 23. And then Kelly Campbell caught one.
Oh, I forgot Kelly Campbell was on the team then.
Yeah, Afros, man.
Yep, I forgot Kelly Campbell.
Was it America's fastest receivers on Sunday?
America's finest receivers on Sundays.
Yeah. That club, that was one thing Reggie White had. You can't teach that.
No, he got you off balance with that move. He got you more times than So yeah, that's pretty much it as far as being underdogs in playoff games.
So 2019, the Saints by more than a touchdown.
Oh, were they more than a touchdown?
Yeah, I'm just looking. It says the NFL has set the playoff schedule for next week, and per the latest odds, bet MGM, the Saints are 7.5-point favorites over the Vikings in the latest entry.
So the Vikings beat them by a touchdown.
Yeah,
Vikings beat them by a touchdown. That was one of the better games that Zimmer coached on defense too.
Because he's played. Cousins didn't panic in that game either.
No. I mean, Kirk had his moments, but for the most part, those moments are few and far between.
If the football gods are just, I don't think the Saints ever beat the Vikings again in the playoff game because of what they did in 09.
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think the Saints make the playoffs for a few years. I just don't, because they're not a good team. Yeah. They've got to set up now to where they're going to bring in, if they haven't brought him in yet, they're going to bring in Chucky. And he's going to be like their offensive consultant. But Dennis Allen's kind of got one foot out the door now anyway. So the first time Dennis Allen screws up, damn well they're going to give that spot to Gruden.
Yeah. I just sent you a message.
Yeah.
So the guy that they just got hired today. Oh guys, I'm drawing a blank on the team. Let's see. It was the Commanders and
they just it was the Seahawks.
Seahawks. I've never even heard of that guy before.
I haven't heard of him either. I have no idea who he is.
So were they not even in the running for Ben Johnson? Because I think he probably would have went to Seattle.
He turned down Washington. I think he's gonna. He wanted to go back to Detroit. He did not want that. He did not want that Washington gig. Mike McDonald.
Oh, he's a
DC
defensive coordinator. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So he's going to Seattle.
Well, it goes to that trend. An offensive coach gets fired, you go to defense.
They've hired, of all the people that got hired in this cycle, only one that's probably going to make it is probably Harbaugh.
They said the culture's already changed in that building.
Oh, in the Chargers?
Yeah.
I believe it.
They're like,
I believe it.
I was following someone on Twitter, and he's like friends with a player. He's like, everybody knows I'm a friend with the Chargers player. you know, and he's saying that the shit that they got away with before, it ain't happening now.
Oh, it's not going to happen. No, it's not going to
Yeah,
happen. It's not going to happen. Um, and I mean, I don't know who the hell the guy was that the Titans hired. If you look at organizations that are kind of in really bad shape, it's the Titans. It's the Titans.
I don't think the owner knows what she's doing.
No, and when you get rid of a coach over some personal BS, that's not a rest. You're not going to be successful. You're just not.
Well, I mean, Commanders don't have a coach. Belichick and Bravel. Can you imagine how good that team would be if those two were? Belichick be the head coach until he gets the record, and then Vrabel takes over.
How is Vrabel not a head coach?
Maybe it's the whole all the owners know each other, kind of like with the Flores thing.
Yeah, and that's the problem right there. Once again, you've got people running football teams right now that have no idea about football. They just
unfortunately
don't.
We're one of those,
and we're one of those.
You look at the teams that win every year in, year out. They got football people in charge. The Ravens, the 49ers,
Ravens, Steelers,
the Chiefs.
Niners, for the most part, the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Eagles.
Yeah, the Lions kind of show up. They did the once 30-year, you make it to the NFC Championship deal. But they're not ready to run.
The Lions can be consistent for the next. I'm gonna go on a limb. They got to be consistent the next 4 years in order for me to believe it.
Yeah,
they have to be. Oh, George KOC is not giving up play calling.
No,
he's not giving up play calling. He's not even remotely going to think about giving up play calling.
And Tony said it before. Coaches have bigger egos than the players. Speaking of coaches, I don't know if you guys have heard about Yogi.
Oh yeah, he's player personnel for the
Minnesota
arena team in Duluth.
What are they called? Duluth. I can't remember the nickname of the team.
Well, the Myth are the Twin Cities team.
Right.
The Duluth team is
Yogi, if you're listening, send a message.
Yeah. I forget the name of it. But yeah, he is the player personnel. Congratulations. So
yeah.
Here's the thing. Once you leave, and we're both from that semi-pro world, once you get away from it, there's always going to be something to bring you back in. I personally don't want to be in it anymore. Yeah. I'm happy on the sideline. My days are done. I'm happy as a spectator. But I'm sure if they need somebody to do stats, they'll probably call me. So,
yeah.
Dylan, I don't think. Well, for one thing, Wes Phillips is only the OC in title. He doesn't call the plays. So, for McCardle to replace him, it's just a title change. McCardle will still work with the receivers, but he's not going to call any plays. Wes Phillips has a title, but he doesn't call any plays. That's all KOC. So
I think we lose McCardle before he gets. I think he goes somewhere to be the OC.
His name did come up. As a possible OC candidate. I forget which team it was.
Yeah. So I don't think McCardle is here after next year. He may not even be. He may not even be here, depending on what Washington does. He may not even be here for that.
He may not even be here for Washington.
Yeah.
He may not even be here for Washington. And once again, Eric Bieniemy does not have a head coaching job.
People are saying it's because of what he did when he was at Colorado. He was at Colorado so long ago. Why would that have anything?
What did he do at Colorado?
I guess off the field stuff when he was at Colorado.
My God, the man has won how many Super Bowls since he's been in the NFL?
I don't know. There's got to be more to it than just.
From what I understood, he doesn't interview very well.
Well, Zimmer didn't interview very well either.
No, and
That's why I took him.
don't ask me how Brad Childress got the job because
That's how.
oh my God.
My kick-ass offense is the reason you should hire me. Look what I did.
Yeah, and then he also threatened to go to Green Bay. He said Green Bay was going to give him what he wanted, and the Wilson.
Damn it. Green Bay, you should have went to Green Bay.
I wish you would have.
We could have had Holmgren.
Yeah, I wish you would have.
McCarthy. I don't know, Gary. It all depends. If the Vikings give Cousins $45 million, I'm not sure any of them are going to care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they give money to Cousins. I've already said I'm not watching this team. I'm not gonna watch another 2 years with Kirk Cousins. I'm just not.
And I would love to get speaking of JJ, why can't we get? I don't know. Maybe I want to say keep Dobbs, have him be the bridge quarterback, but KOC doesn't know how to use him. So
if he's gonna keep a bridge quarterback, he'll keep Mullins.
Yeah, no, I would rather have Tannehill or Minshew.
I could live with Minshew. I live with Tannehill. At
least Tannehill can throw. He's not. I mean, think about it. If any other quarterback is throwing the ball other than Mullins, that's a touchdown for JJ, and they don't lose.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. This is what scares me about this organization. They'll panic because they don't want to rebuild. They do not want to rebuild.
I agree, Gary. 1,000,000%.
I'm out too. I'm out, Gary.
And another thing this shows is that if Kirk Cousins really does want $45 million a year, what does that tell you? He does not want to win. He only cares about money.
He's only in it for the money.
And
he wants guaranteed money? Fuck
and he wants 45?
No. Fuck that. I don't care what the going
I wouldn't play for I would have a hard time playing for a quarterback who doesn't care about winning.
Well, and now here's the thing. We're going to have some issues on the offensive line. Brian O'Neill's regressed. He's regressed. That injury took its toll on him last year. He didn't properly heal that Achilles injury. So he's regressed. You still need that middle of the line to shore up. So you're going to parade Kirk behind that offensive line again.
With a busted ass Achilles.
With a busted Achilles. He's already not mobile. And it ain't like KOC to run the ball. So I've said
if they sign Drew Lock and it's only for him to be a bridge, I'd be okay with that.
I could live with that.
He's not proven to be a franchise quarterback.
No, I could live with that.
But I also heard now that they may go if they don't want to go to the $45 million with Kirk, going back to that they don't want to be a rebuilding team. I heard that they can sign Russell for the veteran minimal because the Broncos got to pay the rest of his contract.
Yeah, but we're still on the hook for Kirk's money too.
Right. But you wouldn't be paying.
And Daniil and Davenport.
Daniil might be coming back, but
you think so?
He loves it in Minnesota. So he's already taken one low contract, and they're saying just like Dougie Wolf and all that, saying that money is a motivating factor for him, but he still wants to be happy. So
I also think he wants some help.
Yeah.
He wants some help, and he needs it. If you're going to bring him back on that defense, he needs some veteran help. It's safe to say Harrison Smith is gone.
Yeah.
If they bring back Davenport, so help me God.
Oh my God.
That tells me right there they're not serious about winning.
They're not 0, just like his number.
Yeah, if you're gonna wear 0, I mean, come on. Don't be a zero. And he was a big fat zero, you know.
No, he wants too much money just to be depth. Bring back Wanham for depth. He's coming off an injury. He's not going to get the money he was going to get. Bring back Wanham.
And here's the thing, though: these guys are coming off an injury. We don't even know how good they're going to be.
Yeah.
Once you come off an injury, like an ACL or anything like that, I mean, anything's possible. We don't know how good Hawkinson's going to be. He just now had his surgery, so he is definitely going to start the season on the PUP list.
Probably won't have him to week 4,
if that.
So that means Nick Muse is probably going to play more. So they probably wouldn't be surprised me if they sign a. Do they bring Johnny Munt back, or do they sign another free agent?
You could probably sign another free agent.
Yeah. Yeah. 100. I just don't. It's just I don't know. I don't. If Rick Spielman was in charge of this team, I'd have a little bit more confidence.
At least with Spielman, whether it was good, bad, or in between, you kind of knew what kind of direction they were going in.
Yeah. So, like, if he kind of out and said, you could tell the messaging when Spielman was like getting rid of a guy. So I think he'd be like, Cousins, Cousins worked out great for us. If everything's right, we're re-signing. But if not, Spielman will say stuff like that, And I don't think Spielman cared what the owners wanted,
No, well, here's the thing. The owners let Spielman do what he wanted.
Yeah.
And that kept them out of the loop in a lot of things, which is why you have now everything by committee. Kwesi, everybody says Kwesi, let Kwesi do this. Kwesi's got this. Kwesi doesn't have half the power that Spielman had. He doesn't have half.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, in order for him to do anything, it's through a committee. Bottom line, he can't make decisions. He's got to make a decision with that committee to sign players, cut players, pay players, all of that. And then sometimes management will go above him. Like this whole Kirk thing, this could be a Wilf call. This could be a Ziggy and Mark Wilf call.
Which we can all sit here and say what we want. They are the owners of the team.
Yeah, they are, unfortunately.
So if that's what they want to happen, it's going to happen. I hope that KOC and Kwesi and even Graves can sit down with the owners and be like, listen, we know you want Kirk back. We want Kirk back. But we ain't doing it for $45 million a year guaranteed.
I got a question. Who the hell really wants Kirk back?
I think they want him back with the right price.
Except for the Kirk Dick writers here in the Twin Cities, who the hell really wants him back?
We don't know. Because the as I said before on multiple shows, it don't matter. It does not matter at all what we think. YouTubers, people on the radio, people on TV, people in chat rooms, Discord, and all that. It don't matter. What do the players and the front office, what do they think about Cousins? What do they talk about privately when they're talking about Cousins? Because the players go to the front office if they're not happy about a situation, or they have their agent, talk to them.
The one they're giving the most control to now is JJ.
Right. So that's my thing. JJ says that's my quarterback, but what does the people in the office think, and what do the teammates think of Cousins? If they absolutely love Cousins and they want him to come back and they think they can win with him, it does not matter that we think that he can't win with him. It don't matter.
Okay, first of all, if you've got any friggin' common football sense, goddamn well you cannot win with Kirk Cousins. That's just football common sense 101. If you really think you're going to win with Kirk Cousins, then you're the idiots. If you ain't got, put it this way, how many playoff games have we won with Kirk Cousins? How many years has he been here? What all of a sudden is going to change? Nothing. Matter of fact, he's older. He's coming off an injury. And I give Kirk credit, and I have given Kirk credit. But guess what? He's Kirk Cousins. This motherfucker does not walk on water. He will not win you the big game. He will melt down in key situations. Guess what? It's time to move on, Minnesota Vikings. Bottom line, move the fuck on. Stop with this. Let's just keep kicking the can down the road. As long as we're in the playoff hunt, we're fine. Bullshit. Stop thinking with that mentality. And that mentality starts at the top.
Is that what you want, Dylan?
Yeah, that's how many playoff wins he has. That's how many playoff wins he has. I mean, you can't, first of all, the Wilfs got to change their way of thinking. They've got to change their way of thinking. Stop with this. As long as we're better than the Green Bay Packers, we're fine. Bullshit. Because guess what? This year, you weren't better than the Packers, motherfucker. What are you going to do now? The Packers got a young team. They're going to pay their franchise quarterback. They're thinking ahead. What the hell are you doing, Vikings? You're spinning your wheels.
They have to get a quarterback this year. They have to.
I know it, and you know it, and anybody with a football common sense and football IQ knows it. But for some reason, we got some dumbass owners that are willing to just kick the can down the road, and as long as the ticket sales are brisk, they're fine. That's the problem number one. Here's what you got to do, Viking fans. If you want to make a change with this team, stop buying the merch. Don't go to the games. Basically, give the middle finger to the Wilfs. Until they change shit around here, have nothing to do with this team.
Problem is, as long as they have JJ on the team, people are going to go to the games to watch him.
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to put this out there as somebody who has played the game, coached the game, watched the game. Wide receivers are a dime a dozen. I don't give a fuck how many one-handed catches you make in your career. You play a position, you're a dime a dozen. And it ain't like your ass is getting hit anymore. You don't run across. You can run across the middle now without getting hit. So guess what? You ain't impressing me. You're not. And JJ, yeah, he's a great receiver.
He's no Moss,
how many games was he hurt this year? And he'll never be Moss. He will never fucking be Moss. There is only one Randy Moss, and it is not JJ. JJ's got a highlight reel from that catch in Buffalo, and they're still living off that son of a bitch.
Moss has got a verb named after his ass.
Right. Sarah, I'm with you. I don't go to the games or buy merchandise either. I just don't.
I can't
afford it. Put it this way. I don't even have to. I can walk to the games because I live that close to the stadium. But I can't afford anything once I get in there.
What's ridiculous?
Yeah.
Prices, was it like $12 for a beer or something like that?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
And that's where they make their money.
Oh, and by the way, the stadium's paid for. It's all paid, folks. So whatever money is going into that stadium, the Wilfs are pocketing. Yeah, Dylan, that's I heard that too. We don't have that home field advantage. We don't have the home field advantage. Try going to Levi. Now that's an interesting one because Levi Stadium's in Santa Clara, which I don't know how many miles outside of San Francisco that is. But yeah, I've heard nightmare stories about Levi Stadium too. So
yeah, an authentic jersey is like $3 something, isn't it?
Depends on where you go. That's why a lot of people get them from some other.
What's that website? A Chinese place that sells it. Yeah.
Yeah, they sell the jersey, but yeah, a jersey costs damn near $250, $300.
Even a replica that you just go to like a regular sports store, those are like $90.
Mm-hmm. And just like a throwback.
Yeah.
Even a throwback and they're not even authentic.
Well, I got lucky because where I got my Chuck Foreman throwback, I also got a Dominique Wilkins one. They were closing. Their store was going out of business, so I got them. I got both of them for like $300. Yeah. You
Yeah,
know,
we used to have a ton of sports stores here that used to have all that type of stuff.
Amazon killed them.
Yeah.
All the online shopping. We have a flea market here, and there's a sports store in there, and they do pretty well. But
Yeah.
yeah, which is weird, Sarah, because usually female stuff costs more.
Yeah, they gouge the females.
Yeah,
They really do. They gouge female fans for big time.
yeah.
Yeah, they do. But the NFL is gouging everybody. Let's just be honest. Um, I used to play video games all the time. I used to love playing Madden. I stopped playing Madden 20 years ago. I
Madden
stopped
hasn't been
playing
good since '09.
it. Yeah, I haven't. I stopped playing Madden.
I don't know, Gary, why you're not seeing other comments.
And most of the stuff that I buy, I would buy I'll buy old memorabilia. I'll go on eBay. I buy like old football programs, old Viking programs, stuff like that.
Um, Gary,
But
you're the only one watching on my channel. That may be why you're not seeing
that could be it.
comments.
That could be it.
I appreciate you watching on my channel, Gary. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the only jersey I would get now is a throwback jersey. I do want an Alan Page throwback and a Jim Marshall throwback. I have a Eller and Larson. But yeah, I do want a Page and I do want a Marshall.
Yeah, but was it just because it's from the pro shop doesn't mean it's 100% authentic, though.
Usually, if it's NFL Pro Shop, it is. It is.
Maybe because it's the end of the year.
Yeah.
The Vikings changing their uniforms. They want to get it out of there.
Yeah, are they changing uniforms?
I haven't heard anything. I know the Texans. From what I understand, I have a buddy of mine who lives in Houston. He works around the Texans. He does like the IT for the stadium. He says the new Texans uniforms are awesome.
Are they going back to that Columbia, that sky blue?
Well, they're gonna have. It's definitely 1,000% gonna have to. He says it's one. He says the only thing I can tell you is that it's 1,000% gonna have Columbia blue. He didn't say if it was gonna be an accent color, if it was the main color, the helmet color. That's all he said.
I know they were gonna change theirs. Talk that the Lions were gonna change theirs again. Tampa Bay might go to Buckle Bruce.
Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, the Vikings need to go back to New Jerseys. They need new uniforms.
I mean, I like the ones they have now better than the Brad Childress era uniforms.
I do too, but I wish they would change the face mask color.
Well, they've only had 3 uniforms, technically. From 61 until what 07, 06, when they changed to the other uniforms, they made minor changes to the uniform, but it was pretty much the same uniform. Like they went from a gray face mask to a white face mask to a purple face mask. And they had the purple face mask, that jersey combination forever. What was it, like from like 88 to when they changed the uniforms? It was the same.
No, uniform. That was from 85 to 05.
05, yeah. So 30 years. So and then the new uniforms, I don't like the black face mask.
No. Here's the thing, there's no black in our color scheme, so why do we have black face mask?
Yeah, and both you and I are both old school. We hate when a team doesn't have black as one of its official colors, or it's black.
Yeah. Yeah, why do you have black? I mean, and that's a Nike thing.
Yeah.
I
don't like white helmets.
I hate white helmets.
Maybe a one-time thing. Like when they do the whiteout, they wear all white. But yeah.
By the way, I got an idea here as far as that whiteout thing goes. Could the NFL think of something original and stop ripping off from high schools and colleges?
It's a thing.
Here's the thing. Your professional football, you can't come up with an idea for a professional team. You got to borrow from a college team. That doesn't say much about you as a professional.
Now that's a jacket, George.
Oh, and Misfits patches. Oh my God. I used to listen to the Misfits.
Well, Danzig doesn't get as upset anymore when you mention Misfits to him like he did before.
Well, no, because he's still touring with them.
Yeah, he was a time period where you couldn't say anything.
He would not talk about Misfits at all, because him and I think Doyle were kind of in a naming rights, not a rights thing, but Doyle was getting money off of the Misfits, and Glenn wasn't. But Glenn had his solo stuff, and Glenn was doing comic books, so. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly. Of course, you know what? My ex-wife used to give me grief all the time. She'd be like, okay, you can remember a Viking game from 1972, but you can't remember what you did with $40 last night.
That's because I care about one.
Put it this way, it's like, and then I would be a smartass and tell her, I know what I did with the $40. I ain't telling you, because guess what? If you had came with me last night, like I invited you to come with me, you would have known what would have happened to that $40. But you stayed your ass home. So guess what? It's $40 is gone. And now you know why I'm divorced.
Thank you, George. I don't know what stereotypes you're talking about, but I appreciate it. Yeah, we are definitely not normal, as people will say.
No, I'm way out there.
But it's like applying for jobs, and they're like, okay, so it has to match up exactly. Like when they do a background check, they go back 10 years to do a background check. Everything has to match up exactly. So if you say from a job from 8 years ago, you worked there for a year and a half from April to like July of the next, but it wasn't April to July, it was May to like July. Oh, I'm sorry, you lied on your resume. It's like,
really, you're gonna get that technical?
Yeah, some jobs get that technical, especially in IT. Yeah, it's crazy.
I know. It's just.
I love my wife. My wife is perfect. My wife is not typical. Is like I only get one small room in the house. Everything else is hers. She doesn't question where I'm at. She doesn't, have any issues with me, like think I'm stepping out or if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. She,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I mean, my marriage was okay. Now this is 20 years ago. It was okay, but then I lost my parents at the same time. They were 2 weeks apart. So I'm in a completely different mindset, world, and everything. And it just kind of went down after that. And so now that I've been single for so long, yes, I do have a girl, but she lives in California. That's Trisha. It's kind of hard for me. I got my space. I got my own spot. I mean, I got Viking stuff all on every wall here in my apartment. I can do whatever I want, So it's kind of like I don't know if I can live with anybody again.
Yeah.
And I'm at that age where I'm kind of like, I'm probably better off having a dog than living with a person. But yeah, I mean, people change. You know what, Gary? I was not a big Ren and Stimpy fan. I was not. For some reason, I just didn't care for them. And I like cartoons. I just didn't care for Ren and Stimpy. Oh, by the way, I don't know if any of you heard this. The Vikings are producing a documentary on the Purple People Eaters. Don't know when it's coming out, but they made mention that they are doing a documentary on the Purple People Eaters. I've seen a couple already that were done by different TV corporations, and they were pretty good. So I think the Vikings are producing this one. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Favorite cartoon? Oh Jesus! I still like Family Guy. Um, I used to like South. I like South Park years ago. Not so much anymore. This line. Oh my God, Sarah. Oh my God. You know what? Lions fans are going to be in their feelings. They really are. I would just tell a Lions fan to get back on the crack pipe because you guys are going to suck now for the next 5 years. So, um, Dan Campbell should be criticized. He should be criticized. He got lucky during the regular season with that whole wheeling and dealing, kind of Riverboat Dan moniker of taking chances. It bit him in the ass in the playoffs when it counted the most. When it counted the most, he should have took the points. But that way of his thinking cost his team a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep. And Lions fans are all, that's what we expect from him. We're happy he did it. No, come on, no, you're not. Any other fan would have been, any other team would have been pissed off that he didn't kick a field goal, or that he went for it both times.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. You're in the NFC Championship. You're one game away from the Super Bowl. You cannot make decisions like that. You just can't. If you got the chance to take the points, take the points.
I mean, we criticize KOC for not being aggressive enough, but there is a line.
Well, we also get on him too because when he does do some certain play calling, they're head scratchers.
That is exactly it right there, Sarah.
Yeah, arrogance. Well, he felt he could do no wrong. He felt he was invincible. And like I said before, coaches have worse egos than players.
Which is saying something.
Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind, Dan Campbell was on that Saints team in 2009. Did you know that?
He was a player, right? Tight end?
Yeah, he was a player. Yep, he was a player.
So we're also in the minority that we don't. The Lions were being called dirty. Like the T.J. Hockenson hit, they called that dirty. But where are they supposed to hit him now?
And that's my whole thing. It's like you're quick to Nowadays, whenever an offensive player takes a hit or gets hurt and it looks like a bad hit, right away the defensive player is labeled dirty. Okay, now anybody who's ever played the game or knows the game knows that they've taken away every possible target for a defensive player to make a tackle.
Yeah.
So guess what? You've got defensive players out there. They have a job too. How are they supposed to bring these guys down?
And are they going to make a rule to where you can't hit a player?
It's turning into flag football. It is. It's turning into flag football.
No, I don't dislike him.
That's the sad part of it.
I don't dislike him. He's not worth $45 million a year. If they can do 25 or 30,
I don't like Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
I don't like Kirk Cousins. Yeah, but it's the same hit on two tight ends, tight end knees ending their season. That's football. Those, you know what? Those Sarah, those hits on tight ends were common. If you ever saw the hits that Steve Jordan took as a Viking, as a tight end, going over the middle, that hit that Hockenson took is the same hit that Steve Jordan took on a regular basis.
And they can't pull them down by the shoulder pads anymore because they'll get called for a host collar.
Right. You can't really, like I said, there's not a whole heck of a lot for defensive players to do as far as grab players. Hell, you can barely sack the quarterback, and if you fall on him wrong, you're going to get flagged for roughing the passer.
Yeah.
It's what they've done is and they used it in the guise of player safety that they've ruined the game.
Well, they wanted to make it a more offensive league.
Yeah, now it's so offensive, it's sickening. I'm sick of looking at offense.
It's so offensive, it's offensive.
Yes. I mean, if you're going to have so basically you're just going to have your defensive players out there for aesthetics as highlight reel thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, George, if you've ever played the game, there's a difference between launching and diving for a tackle. Okay? 9 times out of 10, if you're a defensive player, you're going to go after the knees because guess what? You're taught from a young age, when you tackle somebody, how do you stop their momentum? You get them at the knees. Bottom line. That's how it is. That's football. I mean, and I played defense. Put it this way. When my younger days, when you were coming across the middle, I played linebacker. If you're coming across the middle, I'm hitting you. I don't care. I'm hitting you. You can throw one flag on me, kick me out of the game. I don't give a fuck. But somebody's going to remember who the fuck I am.
Yeah, we couldn't play like we did. No, I mean, George, it's bullshit because
they don't let these guys play.
There's nowhere to hit them, and you kind of
there's nowhere to hit them anymore.
You have to kind of hit them that way. See, normally, maybe 5-10 years ago, I would say that by far and away that's a dirty hit, but they're where they hit them is so small nowadays. It's ridiculous. Like there was a quarterback who, I remember like the play. There was a quarterback who was running on the field. He slid after the guy was already in the air. The quarterback slid. The guy flew over him, didn't even touch him, and they still called the penalty for roughing the passer. That's the type of stuff that we're talking about now. You can't horse collar them, which I understand because that. But they talk about player safety, but they don't give a fuck about players' legs.
They don't give a okay. Let's just put this player safety in the purpose in the focus. The NFL doesn't give a fuck about player safety, okay? Because guess what? You get hurt, you're expendable. They've already got another kid coming out of an SEC school ready to take your spot. So guess what? You're just SOL. Okay, George. Antoine Winfield was also only 5'8".
Yeah.
There's a big difference. And tackling receivers, he couldn't tackle Megatron. He could not tackle Megatron. Yeah, to be honest, nowadays they're telling everybody there's a correct way to properly tackle. Yeah. There is no correct way, okay? There is no way. As far as launch goes, George, he never launched. Yes, he did. I've seen him launch.
And it's not that I don't like the hit. I don't like either one of the hits that he did. I wouldn't have done it as a defensive person, but that's just me. Some players like that. But Brian Waters did this all the time when he was playing.
Everybody did this.
The problem now is I don't blame him as much as I blame the rules.
Right.
That's what I blame. I blame the rules more than I blame him.
Oh, by the way, George, Joey Browner was a judo master. And you saw how he hit.
Yeah. Joey Browner had the fastest, strongest hands of any person.
Yes. Joey Browner ended Gerald Wilhite's NFL career.
Yeah. Now, like I said, George, 5 or 6 years ago, I would have said that was a dirty hit. But they've taken the hit space so much away from the defensive players. I mean, I don't agree with it. It sucks. TJ Hawkinson got hurt. But the same thing happened to the Lions.
Here's the thing. Guess what, people? It's football. You're going to get hurt. There's a possibility you could get hurt on a play. Hell, Kirk Cousins didn't even get hit, and he got hurt.
And those always seem to be the worst ones, non-contact. Yeah, Browner hit knees. Browner pulled people down by the back of their jerseys. He pulled their face masks.
Oh, and by the way, George, hitting knees was very popular. It was very common. It was very common. This brand of football that you're watching nowadays is a watered-down version of what football should be. I ain't crying happy. I'm talking from a defensive standpoint, dude.
I don't know, Mom, because it just tells me on here. It says we have 11 viewers, and it gives me a breakdown of who's on. It doesn't give me a breakdown of who is actually on the channel. It just gives me numbers on who's watching on what channel.
I mean, put it this way: a lot of people don't like the hits. They don't want to see players get hurt. Guess what? It's part of the game.
Yeah, Sarah, I agree with you. I don't like it either. But they've taken the hit zone so far away from the defensive guys.
Yeah, if you're a defensive guy, you're just an aesthetic. You're just a highlight reel. I mean, you can't play pass defense anymore. They're going to throw a flag. That's the sad part. You can't even play defense anymore. They've made the game so lopsided that it's Oh, by the way, George, there's still crackbacks at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
There's still crackbacks. A lot of that shit is still in the game. You talk about taking the head out of the football game, right? Guess what? It don't work at the line of scrimmage.
Nope.
You talk about taking leg whips back. It don't work at the line of scrimmage.
They still do it. They don't get caught.
There and everything.
They don't get caught all the time.
You don't get caught.
They still do it.
Because by rule, if you're in that little box that they call the box area, it's open season on your ass.
Yeah, usually when they call a leg whip or a trip, it's because the guy got beat so bad that he used it as a last resort.
Right.
But when you're pulling, yeah, it happens.
Yeah. I mean, and I play defensive line. It's open season on us. It's open season. Okay.
Are you talking
about that was at a semi-pro level?
Are you talking about when it goes out of bounds, Sarah? Like when they fumble the ball and it goes out of the end zone, the other team gets it?
You know what? That rule's been there for years. They're not going to get rid of that. They will get rid of the tush push.
Yeah.
They will. Someone has said they are going to get rid of the tush push. That's which I don't know what Philadelphia is going to do. And you know what, though? That tush push might not work for Philly now with Jason Kelce gone.
Yeah.
With him being the one pushing.
Well, it didn't work anyway. 49ers figured it out.
Sarah, you know what? Tell that to Zoe, because Zoe says if it ain't a quarterback, he's going to riot and he's going to the draft. Would not surprise me. It wouldn't bother me with. I think they should get a defensive tackle. Rumor has it that Kwesi has been interviewing Bo Nix now down at the Senior Bowl. And he's been spending a lot of time with him.
But I heard Bo Nix is not looking good at all at the Senior Bowl. I don't like Bo Nix because the Oregon offense is a gimmicky offense. When he was in the SEC, Bo Nix was trash.
But you know what, though? He probably fits KOC's offensive scheme.
Yeah.
But I'd go after Jaden Daniels. But what KOC will try to do is try to make him a pocket passer, which is.
I see what you're saying. You think they're going to change the rule because.
Because it went against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. Okay, now I got a question for everybody in the chat. Win or lose in this Super Bowl, is this Andy Reid's last game with the Chiefs?
I don't know. He's got Mahomes as his quarterback, so I don't know.
He's done it all. There ain't much more he can do.
He can go after Belichick's record for Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, he could. But he's got to beat the Niners. I don't know if he'll, the Chiefs aren't that good of a team. They're beatable. They really are.
They were better last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were better last year. I don't know. Something tells me he may hang it up.
Mahomes, though, he is such a big X factor. He is such a big X factor.
True.
I mean, he pretty much won that game against the Ravens.
Yeah, Sarah, that's a good point. What the hell happened to the Chiefs? All of a sudden, you know how to catch a football? They couldn't catch for.
Well, they stopped throwing it to what Tony.
Oh, was it Tony? Yeah, Tony.
Yeah, he was a healthy scratch.
Mm. He complained about that too.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
complained about
what are you
that.
complaining for? Bitch, you can't catch.
Yeah. Well, not
If
only
you're a
that,
wide receiver, who can't catch?
isn't he the one that lined up off sides in that Buffalo
Yes.
game?
Yeah.
It's a wonder you even saw the field, asshole.
It's that Florida education.
Yeah, it's a wonder you even saw the field. Shit. Yeah, he was. I noticed that.
Well, he did the same thing when he played for Green Bay. He'd catch balls and then he'd make like an unbelievable catch. You're like, what the hell?
Yeah, it's
They lost a lot when Juju left. They lost a lot. He was their best receiver last year.
where did Juju go? Patriots?
Patriots.
Hmm.
I don't know. I see people talk about the NFL being rigged. Why is it the same teams? And if it was really rigged, they wouldn't have the same teams just over and
Because
over.
the same teams are guaranteed money.
Well, you know how much if the Browns and Vikings.
Mahomes is guaranteed money.
Yeah, but if the Browns and Vikings played the Super Bowl, you know how big that would be for the NFL. If it was the Bills,
It wouldn't be big at all.
If it was the Bill, if it was the Jets,
It would go by It basically goes by the city. If it's a couple of small cities like Minnesota, Cleveland, I mean, from a pure football standpoint, makes you're interested in it.
Yeah.
But as far as dollar goes, no. Why does the NFL own the state of Missouri? Not from the Rams, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, the state of Missouri sued the NFL and they won.
Missouri won?
Yeah. They left under false pretenses.
What false
Something like
pretenses? The owner wanted to move the team. It's his team.
They didn't. I think it was something like they didn't.
Bad faith negotiations.
Bad faith negotiations. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like they never even won. Like they like when it came to getting funding for the stadium and stuff like that, they didn't.
How the hell did St. Louis think they were going to compete with LA? First of all, the Rams shouldn't have even been in St. Louis in the first damn place.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have even been there.
Well, that was Georgia Frontiere.
She was from LA. She's from St. Louis.
Yeah, she was from St. Louis, so she left Anaheim with the St. Louis.
And she got a stadium. She got the stadium.
Yeah.
That's why she moved the team. She got that damn T. That had to be. Is it just me or was that stadium just dark all the time?
Yeah, it's just dark all the time. Well, yeah, now that there's no natural light.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs.
You know what though? And I'm gonna. Here's what.
But they were in the Super Bowl before Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Here's the thing though. I gotta blame Baltimore. How the hell, if you're the Ravens, you don't stick to your offensive game plan and run the damn ball?
Does Lamar Jackson get blamed for all the losses of the Ravens in the playoffs?
You know what? I gotta put on John Harbaugh. I gotta put it on Harbaugh.
And this goes back to the win-loss record for QBs is the most useless stat.
Yeah, I got to put that on Harbaugh because he went in there with a game plan. Harbaugh played not to lose.
Which is weird for him.
Which they are running team and they did not run the ball.
I mean, the Chiefs defense is good, but it ain't that good.
No, the Chiefs are average.
Yeah.
Chiefs are average, believe it or not. But yeah, he didn't. I mean, George, it was coach. It was coaching. It was John Harbaugh. Why you? Okay, you've been running the ball all year. If you're the Ravens, and then all of a sudden you get to the championship game and stop running the ball, I don't. It's these coaches, they overthink it. You know, Chuck Foreman even said it. The coaches overthink a lot of a lot of a lot of situations and scenarios, and they try to be, they believe the mad scientist thing, but it's just simple football, guys. It's just simple
Because
football.
Lamar Jackson has what, 2 wins?
Yeah, he's only got 2 playoff wins.
Yeah, and he's considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That's
Yeah.
why. That's why when everybody says, "Well, look at the win-loss record," I don't give a fuck what the win-loss record says.
No, like here's the thing: when they throw the win-loss record in there, usually a person that says that to me, I look at them like, you have no idea what the hell you're talking about. You don't watch football.
Yeah,
you just don't. Yeah, Sarah, the Lions did stop running the ball in the second half. Well, Gibbs fumbled the ball too.
Yeah.
And that didn't help. So, I mean, you look at the NFL wants to be this passing league, but guess what? You still got to run the ball. Bottom line, you still got to run the ball. Look at the Vikings.
They ran the ball less than anybody else in the league, I think.
The Vikings ran the ball. Yes, they did. Less than anybody.
And that's saying something, because there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of head coaches out there who like to throw. Well, most
of your offensive coaches are failed quarterbacks.
And that's the misnomer about the run and shoot. That it's all pass. It's not.
No, that run and shoot worked wonders for Barry Sanders.
Yeah.
That's what Barry Sanders was playing in, his first 2-3 years in the league?
Yeah.
The run and shoot. And look at what it did for him. But he was the run.
Yeah.
It spread out the offense, which helped him run the ball. Yes, Gary, run the ball. Run the ball, coaches. There's nothing wrong with running the football. Not a damn thing. Run the damn football.
Yeah. I think Dan Campbell's a meathead, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I understand being aggressive, and you want a coach to be aggressive, but there's a limit, man. There's a limit. I guarantee you, if you ask every other coach in the league,
mm-hmm.
I would say out of 32 coaches, 30 of them said they would have kicked the field goal there.
Yeah. Yeah. Sarah, who's the new Packers DC? Who they hire? I know what's his name interviewed for it, Staley. But Staley also, I think Staley's going back to the Rams.
Boston College head coach.
Jeff Hafley?
Yeah.
Who the hell is he?
Head coach at Boston College, I guess.
Oh my God. Okay. They couldn't find an NFL coach to coach an NFL defense?
Oh, no one wants to take orders from a 12-year-old boy.
Yeah, LaFleur does look like he just hit puberty.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Packer fans are going to look at it like it can't be any worse.
Well, now they're about to shell out a bunch of money to Jordan Love, too.
Yeah.
So, but Hafley? Oh, my God. I've never even heard of the guy.
No, never. I mean, it happens. I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of coaches next year that I think Philadelphia is probably going to have a new coach. The Giants are probably going to have a new coach. The Jets are probably going to have a new coach.
I think, and I honestly think Belichick is holding out for one of those New York jobs.
Could you imagine if he went to the Jets and turned them into a winner?
It wouldn't. I mean, he's kind of got some pieces there, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
So
he's got Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, and he's the only one that can work with Rodgers. He's the only one. But I'll tell you what, I think the one that gets fired first is Dabble.
Yeah.
I think Dabble gets fired. What did I miss about the Jets?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of stuff lately. So I haven't really been.
Yeah, what did I miss about what's going on with the Jets? I mean, besides, Zach Wilson wants to bang everybody's mom. That's about all I know. Is there stuff being said now about Rodgers? What's going on? Now I gotta dig it. Thanks a lot, Sarah. I gotta look into this now. I gotta do a deep dive into this. Oh, Salah's paranoid. He should be paranoid. Salah should be paranoid. He's probably gonna lose his job.
If they don't make the playoffs with Rodgers as their quarterback, they're missing the playoffs.
Right.
He got a break this year because he got hurt.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, he's gonna be out of a job. But they got front office job. Oh, and a bunch of it came out today. I got to look into that. Thanks, Sarah. I got to look into that. Now I want to see what's going on. I'm interested now. I wonder if a lot of it's got to do with Woody Johnson.
Explosive story details deaths of Jets organizational dysfunction in 2023. The Athletic published a story. Jets beat writer Zach Rosenblatt about in the National Reporter Diana Rushing offering behind the scenes look at what wrong in the Jets 2023 season. Well, Rodgers got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Unsurprisingly, it does not paint many of the team's key figures in a flattering light. Woody Johnson was unsurprisingly painted as an owner, completely starstruck by Aaron Rodgers. Nathaniel Hackett was portrayed as a coordinator who lacked attention to detail and showed little interest in adjusting after Aaron Rodgers' injury. Perhaps this is Hackett due to Hackett owing his job to Rodgers, and the Jets hired Hackett a year ago. Hackett proved he was an idiot when he was at the Broncos.
Oh, by the way, guess who almost had the Viking job before KOC? Guess who the Vikings loved when they interviewed him? Hackett.
Yeah.
They loved Hackett. What does that tell you?
So the leadership deferred to Rodgers beyond the hiring of Hackett. The team bought in several free agents last offseason that with ties to Rodgers. One executive with another team quoted as saying he views Rodgers as the team's real general manager. While many of the figures within the organization come away from the article looking bad, nobody is portrayed worse than Robert Saleh. Much of what was written above was simply a confirmation of what many already suspected with Saleh. There was a mountain of new information. Rosenblatt and Rossini painted a picture of a coach who all but threw in the towel on the season once Rodgers got injured. His goal became winning enough games to survive and not making the playoffs. He openly complained about being stuck with Zach Wilson, believing a third-year quarterback for most of the problems. Saleh was also upset about the press coverage to learn that he got to the point where he threatened to confiscate cell phones to uncover the leaks in the media. Wow. How the fuck would you play for a coach like that? I wouldn't. I mean, we all know Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback, so it was kind of easy for him to blame Zach Wilson.
They're basically saying he mailed it in when Rodgers got hurt. He mailed it in. And that's a hell of a That's fireable right there.
To win just enough games to not make the playoffs, but yet.
Yeah, that right there
It
is
doesn't
enough.
surprise me that Rodgers wants the team, though.
Huh?
That part doesn't surprise me. Rodgers running the team.
No.
That part don't surprise me.
Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all.
Well, the Jets are the Jets for a reason.
Yeah. So next year is solid. It's the two teams in New
I
York.
would fire him right now.
The two teams are gonna. The two New York teams will be looking for head coaches. Dabble's.
Well, all three of them might be.
Yeah, Dabble's going to be gone. I'm surprised McDermott still has a job. So.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's not the kumbaya we hear about.
No. Ben did pull a shady move on Washington. He really did. They were all set to give him that gig.
Did he do the McDaniels?
Kinda did a McDaniels. Somebody said he didn't want to go to the Commanders because he thought the name was gay. I did hear that. But yeah, he's betting on himself another year. So we'll see what happens. But hey, let's wrap it up for the night.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for being here. We kind of knew this was going to be a short show because the Vikings have been underdogs very many times in the playoffs. So we haven't been on for a while, so we kind of wanted to just talk about what's just going on.
We've hit we've hit all the aspects of the NFL.
Yeah.
And it all ties into Viking history one way or another.
Yeah.
So
Friday we are going to be on. Not sure what time. Probably our usual time, like around 9:30 or so. It's just going to be just a general. We're going to touch on each team in the North to find out where each team stands for the next couple of years and what teams are the best spot, what teams are the worst spot, how the draft will impact that, how signing free agents and all that. So that is what we're going to do on Friday, around the same time.
And once again, I want to thank everybody for taking time out of their busy lives to actually listen to us talk and babble and talk about a bunch of Viking.
We don't agree with everybody, even the people in the chat we don't agree with. But hey, it's all good conversation. We love everybody, man.
Yeah. Sarah, please join on Friday, please.
Yes. Yes, Sarah, you have an open invitation to join on Friday. So I'll give you. I don't know if you have Yogi's contact information or not. So send me a private message on Twitter, Sarah. It's DYA Catch 84. It's just Catch 84. I have a picture of my dog on there. Send me like an email there, so when the time comes, I can send you a link to get on.
Oh, what the hell did you do, Sarah?
We're talking about Sarah here, so
Yeah, but it takes a lot. Well, not really, not anymore. It used to, but not anymore, to get suspended on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. We'll figure it out, Sarah.
Yep. We will figure it out.
I just might put it in the general chat and say this is an invite for Sarah only, too. I can do that, too. So.
A Pokemon trainer, Sarah? Really? Oh, my God. Oh, boy. That's a new one. That is a new one.
What was she saying? That's the key thing.
Oh my God.
That's a conversation for later.
You had to say something pretty harsh to get suspended for talking shit to a Pokemon trainer. Oh my God.
Pikachu sucks. Pikachu's overrated. Charizard's the best. Those are the two characters I know.
Oh my God. Oh, so yeah, we will. Once again, thanks everybody for watching us tonight.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate it more than you know. And hopefully we will see you on Friday.
first down, then get a touchdown. Rock 'em, sock 'em, fight, fight, fight.